look, Alabama's the team feeling the best now because they don't have a game to play this weekend, and that's not going to dictate whether or not they make the college football playoff. But one probably, I guess, feeling in their gut that they don't like this weekend, and they're going to have to deal with, is Alabama's going to have to root for SMU in that ACC championship game, because for obvious reasons. Clemson's not making the college football playoff unless they win the ACC championship this weekend. And I don't see the college football playoff kicking SMU all the way out of the top 12 if they don't win the ACC championship. So, with that being said, Alabama needs SMU to take care of business. They're in Charlotte, of course. And that is going to be the make or break for the Crimson Tide being able to make the college football playoff as a first round road team. But yeah, I mean, other than that, like I wasn't crazy surprised about any of this stuff. I mean, nothing, nothing surprised me just unbelievably. Now let's see. What were your thoughts, Mason? And let me pull up this list over here that I had, but obviously there was a lot of talk in the video that we did earlier this week about who was going to be able to play a home playoff game. So what do you think that slate's looking like? I think that's an area that a lot of people are talking about. A lot of Indiana folks were hoping that they were going to be able to slide into that, that home playoff, being able to host that home game, and it doesn't look like that's going to be able to be the case.
Yeah, I would be surprised, I guess. Yeah, I don't see Indiana being able to host there. I know there were a lot of Tennessee fans, which we have a ton of Tennessee fans on this channel, and a lot of them were saying, making the case for them in the 8 spot over Ohio State. I get it, but the committee sees Ohio State, because they were ranked so high. I think having that one loss against a rival Michigan, as bad as Michigan is right now, they give Ohio State the nod over Tennessee. If you're a Tennessee fan, you just gotta hope that you can go up there and take care of business, right?
All right, so we've got our new college football playoff rankings headed into college for conference championship week, rather. And as we can see, let's just start from the top of the list here, and we'll make our way down. Oregon, we've got at number 1 here. At no surprise at all. They've been number 1 in everybody's rankings, really, pretty much everybody in the country since they beat Ohio State there at home. Oregon has been the most consistent team in the country. I don't think there's any doubt about that. We look, they're Oregon fans feel slighted this year, and I think I know what it is. It's not anything that's been on the field. There's been so much talk this year about I don't know if there's an elite team in college football and blah blah blah. And I think Oregon fans have taken a little bit of umbrage with that, that type of talk, because Oregon has been an elite team in college football this season, and there's no doubt about that. They're 12-0. They're the only team that is 12-0. So you got to give Oregon their flowers in that manner. But at the same time, you know, uh, Oregon fans have kind of taken offense anytime you even been devil's advocate as far as talking about one of their opponents in one of their games or something like that. We're going to talk about the Big Ten championship game today, and we're going to talk keys to victory for Penn State, because there is a chance that Penn State can win that football game. And whether anybody likes it or not, I mean, there is a chance that they can win that game. Do I think Oregon's going to win? Yeah, I do. But we're going to discuss it further, and I'm gonna do my best to explain why I think that and the outcome of that football game. So y'all stay tuned for that here shortly. Texas at number 2, no surprise there. Penn State number 3. This situation's going to work itself out. I don't think Penn State is the 3rd best team in the country, Mason. I mean, I have a hard time believing that. But Penn State's 11-1, and you can't argue with that. They've lost one game where they struggled to score against one of the best defenses in the country, if not the best defense in the country. So, you know what? Penn State's all they've done is just beat who's in front of them, and that's all that you can do. So, congratulations to Penn State. this situation with Oregon and Penn State is about to work itself out, and the loser of that game is not going to fall that far though. So we'll keep that in mind. Notre Dame slides up to number 4. So I know there's going to be a lot of talk about this. I know a bunch of people are going to hate this, right? Notre Dame sliding up into number 4 here, and here's the deal. I don't think they're going anywhere. I don't. Well, I mean, I guess they got to go somewhere with the conference champions, but I don't think they're going far. They're gonna be right there towards the top, and they don't have a game to play this weekend. So you're gonna see a conference champion kind of kick them out of the 4 spot, but they're not gonna go far. They got to probably just go to 5, I would imagine. Um, so Notre Dame is in really really good shape, and that number 5 spot is a really good spot in the bracket as well. So that sets up really, really nicely for Notre Dame. You got Georgia at number 5, Ohio State number 6, Tennessee number 7, and SMU 8, Indiana 9. So congratulations to Tennessee. I think this is obviously a really big deal because that the 5, 6, and 7 was it 5, 6, 7, 8 are going to be hosting playoff games. Right, and this is still gonna move around a little bit, guys, don't get me wrong. I mean, SMU obviously has got a chance to slide up into that top 4, and either them or Clemson will, obviously, right? So, there's still some moving around that's gotta go on here, and if Georgia wins, don't you figure if Georgia wins the conference championship, they'll slide up into the number 2 spot probably, I would imagine, Mason? I mean, I'm
Yeah.
thinking the SEC champion, you've got Texas 2, Georgia 5. I think the champion obviously is gonna be in the 2 spot, and the loser's probably gonna be in, like, the 6 spot, I'm thinking. Um, I don't think you're going too terribly far, so I'm thinking the loser of the SEC championship game, I guess it kinda depends on how things go. I mean, if Florida beats or excuse me, if Texas beats Georgia 100 to nothing, maybe Georgia slides to, like, 9 or something, but I don't see that happening this weekend with a 2.5 point spread. Nobody's really predicting that at this point. So
Yeah.
I think the loser of the SEC championship game is safe to say they'll probably have a home playoff game there. Um, we got Indiana 9, Boise State 10, Alabama 11, and Miami at 12. Um, so there we go. And then you see, guys, we got Arizona State and Iowa State at 15 and 16. And so you know what that means. That whoever wins that Big 12 championship is going to be coming into that 12 spot. So as I said earlier, we kind of messed up our video, so it might be edited out. So I'll say it again. Alabama and Miami, and really Alabama. I mean, obviously the committee's telling us that they like Alabama over these at-large teams here. This little block of 11 through 14, they like Alabama. Alabama's got to root for SMU to take care of Clemson because Clemson doesn't have a chance to make the college football playoff, obviously, with 4 losses without winning the ACC championship. So all eyes will be on Charlotte for many different reasons. Obviously, lots of Clemson and SMU fans will be waiting in anticipation for the conclusion of that game, and other fan bases all around the country. What do you think about this top 12 or 14? I guess you could say. Really, you got to kind of look at the top 16 or 17, Mason, because um, there's I guess opportunities for each of these teams in some way, shape, form, or another.
Yeah, and I think when you look at, 11, 12, 13, 14, if you could scroll down just a little bit there, Mark, but you look at that group and you got Alabama, Miami, Ole Miss, and South Carolina. Those were the 4 programs that there was so much debate about when we did our show. You see it all over, online, and you could make a case for all 4 of those teams, right? Miami's the only group out of that bunch with 10 wins. Alabama has done the best against ranked opponents out of those 4. Alabama has the head-to-head against South Carolina. Mississippi has the head-to-head against South Carolina. So to me, I'm looking at that and I'm saying I think that the committee just kind of took the easy way out. And I don't know that I necessarily blame them, but it's easy to say Alabama has the head-to-head against South Carolina, so does Ole Miss. So South Carolina, therefore, cannot be ahead of those 2, even though, um, even though they got slighted really in the LSU game and there was some bad officiating that anybody could see that cost them that football game, and even though they look by the eye test like the best team out of those four right now, Miami, all you have to do at that point is look at really. I mean, I guess Ole Miss still has a case, but the issue with Ole Miss is that their schedule was so easy that it made it easier for Alabama to get in over Ole Miss again, and this is something that Mr. Ward kind of hinted at afterwards or elaborated on afterwards. But Alabama has more current top 25 wins than Ole Miss, than South Carolina, than in particular Miami, and that's kind of why they got the nod there. But one of the things that I'm kind of interested in, and you mentioned Notre Dame kind of being stuck at 4, kind of no matter what happens. I'm interested to know if Georgia were to beat Texas, do you think that the committee would drop Texas below 4? When Georgia would then be the number 2 team, right? Presumably, and Texas's only losses were both to Georgia, who's the number 2 team. And you're already telling me that they're ahead of Notre Dame. So I think if Georgia were to beat Texas, I think that Texas drops to 3, which would give them the 5 spot in the actual college football playoff bracket. And you could potentially make the same case for Penn State. Again, it's going back to do you penalize these teams for playing in these conference championship games? Because right now, Penn State and Texas are ahead of Notre Dame. Obviously, if Texas handles business, takes care of Georgia, Georgia's not getting getting ahead of Notre Dame in this case.
Yeah.
But if either Oregon or Penn State are going to have to lose that game. Does the committee push them behind Notre Dame at that point? I think that's a reasonable question, and I don't know that we can necessarily just pencil them into the 5 spot.
Well, and the more we talk about it, I mean, we're all kind of reacting to this live on the spot here. So, I mean, humor me for a minute. Maybe the penalty for Georgia losing to Texas is stiffer than the penalty for Texas losing to Georgia in this situation, and maybe that applies to the Oregon and Penn State game as well. I mean, because if Penn State loses this game, yeah, they've got 2 great losses, but I feel like Penn State needs this win, obviously, to put on their resume to deserve to be that top 4, top 5-ish team. And if they lose this game, maybe they drop farther than what Oregon would drop if they were to lose this game, considering Oregon is undefeated at this point and essentially has a loss or 2 to kind of give. That's interesting. It still leaves kind of a murky picture as far as who's playing who in the first round here, because depending on who wins those games, I mean, we think Oregon's going to beat Penn State. I mean, that's kind of where we're at on that as a group, and we're going to discuss it in depth. And I'm not saying Penn State doesn't have a chance to win that game, so don't get me wrong there, guys. But I feel the same way about the SEC championship. I really don't know who's going to win that football game. I don't know. Georgia beat Texas the first go round, but now all of a sudden they're going to play in a neutral site, and everybody's in love with Texas in this game. So it's going to be an interesting football game. SMU and Clemson, there is certainly a path for both teams to win that game. Boise State, UNLV, there is a path for both teams to win that game. So Big 12, Arizona State, Iowa State, I might feel the best about Arizona State in their conference championship matchup versus, what I feel like about the rest of these contenders. It's just as far as my confidence level is what I mean. So I don't know. I don't know. I feel the most confident in the fact that Arizona State and Oregon are going to win their conference championships. The rest of them, I really don't know. I'm giving my best educated, guess on these things. We're going to do predictions here shortly. So we'll see. But Indiana is a team. I don't see them moving a whole heck of a lot. I think that's kind of where they're going to be. Tennessee, It kind of tells you where the committee feels with Ohio State and Tennessee there. In this projection, Tennessee going on the road to Columbus, that is a hell of a matchup, Mason. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know what the history is there between Ohio State and Tennessee. Y'all let us know in the comment section. I don't remember really any history between those two. Maybe they ran into each other some in the late '90s or something. Whenever Tennessee was kind of on their on their high horse back in the day. But that's going to be a hell of a matchup. And um, really any of these scenarios, I'm super excited about. Notre Dame, Alabama. I mean, that's two blue bloods if I've ever seen it, right? And a national championship rematch from not that long ago. There's a lot here. Indiana possibly going on the road to Georgia if Georgia was to lose that SEC championship. Obviously, I would just be in love with the aspect of Georgia being able to host a college football playoff game in Athens. Um, I'd like to pretend that I would do my best to get a ticket to that, but I don't. Lord knows those things would probably be $700 a piece to get in that place. But with that being said, I am really excited about all these matchups, guys. And do yourself a favor too. Go look at all the dates for all these playoff games, the first round, the quarterfinals, the semifinals. Look at the dates and the days of the week that those are going on. Me and Mason kind of had I didn't realize that some of these are happening like during the week. So in between each round of the playoffs, you're going to basically have like 10 days in between games. And so that sets it up to where you've got some games on odd days of the week that we're not used to having college football. That's going to be really interesting as well. New Year's Eve and New Year's Day has always kind of been a thing, but I think that falls on like a Wednesday, Thursday. So we've got Monday national championship. We've got Wednesday, Thursday games. This weekend we've got Friday and Saturday like normal. But this will be the last weekend that's like normal of the college football season. So we still got one more week to figure all this stuff out and figure out how it's going to shake out. It's going to be really, really interesting. The penultimate rankings here for the 2024 college football playoff 12 team edition. Anything else on this, Mason, before we get into conference championship predictions?
Well, I will say that given what the committee is doing in putting Alabama at the number 11 spot, um, and I just mentioned how I thought that this was kind of the easy way out. I think if we extrapolate here a little bit, and if Clemson were to beat SMU, I think that the committee would take the easy way out and keep SMU at 11 based off of that pretense. The thing that I struggle with SMU is that if they lose to Clemson, they will be 0-1 against current top 25 teams. Clemson is the only team on their schedule that is in the top 25 outside of BYU. So I guess they would be 0-2 against top 25 teams. And I don't know. I don't know if the committee would keep them in that case because they just made the argument for Alabama, who has a good top 25 schedule or record, I should say. So that to me is kind of the biggest question. You know, I don't know. I don't know which is an easier judgment to make in that case, but make no doubt about it. If Clemson beats SMU, it's going to throw a huge wrench in everything. It is the biggest game I think of the weekend realistically because win or lose in the ACC or in the SEC championship game, win or lose in the Big Ten championship game, both of those teams are in. I think without a doubt. You know, the Big 12, it's a win. It's a win, and you're in. And then the ACC, it's a win and you're in if you're Clemson. If you lose and you're SMU, you're still kind of a bubble team. And what side of the bubble are you going to be in? So I'm really excited for that and kind of fired up for these conference championship games, obviously, and what the effect of those games is going to be when it comes down to this bracket.
I think this is an interesting point right here that PSU Jim makes. He says how uh, funny how it works. The SEC and Big Ten champ games are the better games to watch, but the most important will be the ACC game. That is super true, man. That ACC championship game. who would have thought a 4, a 3 or what is it, 3 loss Clemson? Is that right? Are they 3 or 4
Mm-hmm.
losses? Um, who would think that they would be, having so much impact on the college football playoff? But that's how this how that's how this works. All these teams trying to get in here at crunch time. These conference championship games still mean something. In some cases, it means less for the SEC. I feel like in the Big Ten, but that's okay.
One more point, real quick. The way that this sets up, I don't like. If this were how the playoffs were played going, if we were walking into the playoffs, this was your bracket, right? You've got Georgia. If they beat Indiana, you've got Georgia playing Texas for the third time this season in the quarterfinals. I know you can't just strategically place these teams in certain places so that you're not seeing these matchups for a second or third time. But I don't. I feel like if I'm a fan of college football, I don't really want to see that 3 weeks after one another, right? And that's kind of what we could potentially see here. I would like to see Georgia or whoever loses that SEC championship game potentially in like the 5 spot, and then maybe you kick Penn State down or Oregon down to the 6 spot, or vice versa, and kind of spread out the conferences in a sense, because then you're also having Ohio State potentially, if they were to beat Tennessee, playing Oregon in the quarterfinal. And to me, that should be a semifinal or a national championship type of game. So, again, I'm not faulting the committee for that, but hopefully, as college football fans, we get better matchups than this when it's all said and done.